Hello. Hello.
This work?
Hello. Hello.
Hello, Marky Dragon, also known as Marcus Eikenberry in real life. Welcome to the Friday Night Live show. So, tonight we're going to talk a little bit about Kickstarter campaigns again, some of the success, some of the stuff that's in progress, and then some of the stuff that you're just like going, what the frack, as I say in Battlestar Galactica. So, we've got a guest tonight, which I'll introduce here very shortly. And so let me first start talking about the middle of the road. Right now, see, we've got the good. We've got Defense Grid we're going to talk about tonight. We've got middle of the road, which is Greedmonger, which is still in progress. And then we've got the whole thing with the Indiegogo campaign that was for New Dawn 2015 that got funded and then totally blew up when everybody found out it was a fraud. And so, you know, and that's one of those moments where you're going, what the hell just happened? So, anyway, I've got a great guest tonight. And let me go ahead and introduce him, and I'll bring him onto the screen here at the same time. We have here. Let me get the image going here. Why can I never do this right at the first time? It's on the fly. So here we have Jeff. Is it Pobst?
Pobst, actually.
Pobst. Pobst.
Yeah.
Well, that's my
name.
That's my dyslexic mind there for you.
No, if I was Jeff Pobst, I would be the host of Survivor, and I would talk about how tribes have spoken and such.
Yes, well, it's it's no wonder your name sounded so familiar to me. So now you have a game called Defense Grid.
Yes, sir.
And for those of us, or for those people who are watching, who don't know what Defense Grid is, can you tell us all what Defense Grid is?
So there's a class of games called tower defense games, but they're a subcategory, if you will, of strategy games. So if you look at any video games, you might have a shooter where you decide that you're going to look through someone's eyes and go around shooting targets, or you might have a kind of a game where you have a view from above where you're having strategic perspective, and you might control groups of units or a battle or something. That's typically a strategy game. A type of strategy game that became really popular over the last 5-6 years is called tower defense game. And the thing that happens in a tower defense game is that you have something you're protecting, and you're building defenses while an oncoming army attacks you or tries to steal something from you. And we had played several of these tower defense games that were coming out, and we had a background in making really big strategy games. And we thought, well, what if we take some of the things we know about really big strategy games and apply them to this fun, really fun experience of tower defense games, and see if we can't make, our goal was to make the best tower defense game out there. And so we made this game called Defense Grid. We released it a few years ago, and it's kind of become known as, fortunately for us, the best tower defense game out there. And so we're really excited about it. And so we've been releasing some new content for it over time, and the very latest expansion is called Containment. It comes out next Wednesday for the people who, it was funded by a Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. And this Kickstarter happened over the summer from early July to early August. And the folks funded this new content, and it was really exciting. Yesterday, we got to give the final content to the backers for what they funded. Mm-hmm. And so that's, it makes everyone feel good. The backers get what they paid for, and we're able to finish the content and get it out there, and it turns out to be, we think, really fun. And so it's some of the best content that we've ever done. And I can talk more about how we think we got to the best by interacting with the community. The Kickstarter, started that interaction with the community, but that kept going through the last 6 months, and really, well, I guess last 4 months really, from August till now, and really helped mold the content in a really special way.
So, are you saying literally that because because it was the Kickstarter campaign and you were able to talk with the backers, that changed or influenced the direction of the final content that was given to us backers yesterday?
Yes, yeah, and it wasn't just during the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter got a conversation going, and lots of people were posting about what they wanted to see. And a lot of what people really want is for a sequel that we hope we get to make. That's a bit much bigger project. We obviously, if we had raised even more money for the Kickstarter, we could have afforded to do that. This helps us. We created a product. We're going to sell this product. We expect the product to make some money. That money is going to go towards the sequel, and then we're working with a few investors to potentially get the rest of the money so we can make that sequel. And if we do make the sequel, we're still going to give all the people who backed us a free copy of the sequel.
Now, wouldn't you want to do another Kickstarter at that point, or would that be double jeopardy?
Yeah, I have to say, Kickstarters are hard. And the physical goods piece is really costly and takes up a lot of time. All of the management of the Kickstarter, even since it's ended, because we wanted to do exactly what we said, turns out to be a lot of work. And it's probably better for us from a time point of view to spend our money on the time making the game to get closer than the time to make a new Kickstarter to make the game. At least that's our perspective right now. I think, and I did a whole talk on Kickstarter. I could go on for a long time, and your viewers will get really tired really fast. But what they can do if they're really interested in this topic is I did a keynote at Penny Arcade. Penny Arcade has PAX, and they have a PAX Dev conference right next to it. And I did a keynote at PAX Dev talking about our Kickstarter, talking about the finances of it, what we did to prepare, how much we spent on it, how much we ended up making on it, everything. We just, kind of trying to take this whole new concept of being really open about what it's like to be a game developer and what it's like to go through a Kickstarter. And we put that up on YouTube. So if people want, they can sit for an hour and see all the slides and listen to the commentary about the history of Defense Grid, about what made us think we should do a Kickstarter in the first place, about the Kickstarter itself, and then about what's happened after the Kickstarter. And that's, if you go to Hidden Paths Entertainment channel, you'll see the Defense Grid 2 Kickstarter presentation, and they can listen to that if they want.
Yeah, well, that sounds great, actually. I think that that'd be something that I would be interested in seeing. And so, I do think that Defense Grid has become the premier tower defense game. And I remember, I don't know when tower defense actually appeared for the first time. You may know. The
first one we could find were mods to Warcraft 3 and StarCraft. StarCraft. Yeah, StarCraft. So, exactly when the mods came, I don't know which ones came first, but I know that when we decided we wanted to do Defense Grid, we decided to do at that time, a survey of all the tower defense games, so we could analyze what they did, what we liked that they did, what we didn't like, what the different features were, and we did this. What we often do is something called a taxonomy. If we decide to go into a space, we try and study that space and break it down into its fundamental pieces so that we can then understand what the best way to use the fundamental pieces are. Because we want to design something new and special and uses the skills and talents of the staff that we have here. When we did a taxonomy of tower defense in 2007, so almost not quite 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago, there were 84 tower defense games or mods that we found. And we looked at those across the spectrum, and a lot of them were mods, a lot of them were Flash games. At that time, none of them were console or PC downloadable games. I don't know that we came out and were the first, but we were very close to being the first premium tower defense game. And I know for like 4 or 5 months we had pitched the game to publishers, and we had said, hey, you should make this, it's going to be great. And all we heard back from people was, tower defense games are free, no one's going to buy it, we don't want to fund it. Even though, yeah, it'll be cool, and yeah, you guys will do a good job. They just didn't believe in the business side of it. And fortunately, we were able to prove that if you make a good game and you put it out there, people will pay for it. But at the time, people were really worried, because everything that was tower defense at that time was, an amateur mod that didn't cost anything, or a Flash Tower game that it didn't cost anything.
I remember playing Command and Conquer and building my protection forces out into the enemy base.
Yeah, quite the technique. Our colleague Mark Turano, who is the design director here at Hidden Path, was the lead designer for Age of Empires 2. And he would talk a lot about the sneaky tactics where people would actually build a base in someone else's base and both protect themselves, put up walls, and people couldn't get to their town center because they'd be encased in walls. And so, yeah, there was all sorts of rather strange tactics.
Well, that was my thing. Yeah.
I mean, people who like strategy often like building things, and that's what tower defense really. It does a lot of cool things for you. There's the building aspect. I'm constructing the perfect defenses. There's the economic aspect. I've got a balance between how many resources I'm getting and how much I can spend, and so it really goes after a certain. Players really enjoy the puzzle aspect, the building aspect, and the economic balance aspect.
So, with this Kickstarter, would you do a Kickstarter again for another game in the future?
I think it's possible, but I think it's a really what I basically my takeaway in the presentation that I was talking about on YouTube is that. When we make a game right now, we build it, we get it there, and then we announce to the press, either ahead of time or at the time it's released that it's coming, and everyone wants to run a story because gamers are reading and want to know about new products. And so we get very used to a really good relationship with the press. We tell them, hey, a game's coming out, and all of a sudden you look around, and everywhere it says, hey, the game's coming out. When you do a Kickstarter, you don't get that. There's so many Kickstarters going and so many people in press getting so inundated, they don't want to do Kickstarter stories. There will be ones here and there. Chris Taylor is a big name. He comes out with a Kickstarter this week. He's going to get coverage. He's released several AAA games. He's got a long-standing relationship with the press. We got some coverage when we had a good relationship with the press. We didn't get a ton of coverage. But what I learned about Kickstarter is that you have to drive a large number of people to your site. I would say that basically you have to drive 2 people to your Kickstarter site for every $1 you want to raise.
That sounds like normal marketing.
There you go. And the average person who gives to a video game Kickstarter, gives around $40. So that means you have to drive 80 people to your website to get one $40 purchase to your Kickstarter website. So that's a lot of people, that's the 2 people for every $1, 80 people to get one $40 pledge. So you have to basically do a tremendous amount of, for lack of a better word, marketing. To get the word out of your Kickstarter. We're not really a marketing organization. We're a game development organization.
Right.
And we do spend on marketing when we have a very large game to release. And we do, we do talk to the press when it comes time to do interviews or reviews, or they're looking at our games, and that gets the word out. But we really don't have a lot of channels that we're professional at, like we are professional at making games, for reaching a large audience. So one of the things that I think the existing Kickstarter did is it got us 7,000 people who are really interested in the game and hopefully other things that Hidden Path makes. And we built a conversation with them. And so we have a community now, and like we talked about earlier, this community started helping us choose certain things about the games. They started pitching ideas, and we let them vote amongst each other about what ideas they thought were the best ones. We would engage with them to pick. When we designed the shirts for what the Kickstarter prize was, they were involved in that. Same thing for the poster. We did a lot of connecting with the community, and I really like it. We really like it here. And I think we're going to use this as we go forward with our other games as well, and hopefully build up a bigger audience. And maybe when we have a large enough audience where maybe there's 200,000 people following us, I don't know if we'll ever get there, maybe then it makes complete sense to do another Kickstarter because we can communicate directly to that audience. I think if you look at the successful Kickstarters, a lot of them had 1 million, 2 million email subscribers that they could blast directly.
Right.
And a lot of them, the others had something really new and really innovative that people wanted that virally spread.
Yeah, but viral,
viral,
is really hard to obtain.
Well, right. You just have to have something really different and unique, and everyone who sees it has to go, "Oh, I want that." And like when we even with Defense Grid, I think anyone who knew Defense Grid said, "Oh, I want more." But someone who hadn't known Defense Grid before, it was kind of hard for them to go, "Oh, what is that? I have to learn about this. Is this something I want? I don't know." And so I think either you have to have an audience of your own to do a Kickstarter with and communicate with them so that they can bring in more people to make it really big. Or you have to have something so novel and innovative that on site people are really interested in it. And those would be the situations, I think, when we would do a Kickstarter again. The more likely one for us being that we have a large enough audience we can reach directly.
So now you mentioned that you guys do some other games as well. What other titles would we recognize?
Well, hopefully you would recognize, and to be fair, we are not responsible for the entire series. But we did, we released this last August at Hidden Path the first update to Counter-Strike in 8 years, Counter-Strike Global Offensive. And it's an all-new engine, new Counter-Strike experience. It's a pro version 5-on-5. We raised the skill ceiling so that people who are really good had more room to grow, and we worked to lower the skill floor so that those people who felt like Counter-Strike was too hard for them could actually get in and enjoy the experience. We released it on PC, on Mac, on PS3, and on Xbox 360. And Valve is managing it now. We've moved on to other projects, most of which I can't talk about.
Oh, come on. It's just us here.
Well,
I'm sure I'll hear about it in time.
That's the plan, right? Is that you work on a game and you want to tell everybody about it from day one because you can see in your head how cool it's going to be. But it really makes most sense to talk about it to other people when you can show them how good it's going to be. And so today, this week we're releasing Defense Grid Containment. Last August we released, in conjunction with Valve, Counter-Strike Global Offensive. There's 3 other projects going on in the studio right now. One of them will come out this year for sure. The other one I'm hoping will come out this year. And the third one I'm hoping will come out next year. And so that's, we'll see how it all goes, but that's what's going on right now.
Well, we're going to want to hear from you when you're ready to talk about that, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
So, what, now, can you tell me about the struggle to reach your ultimate goal on Kickstarter? Because originally your goal, I think your end goal was to make Defense Grid 2.
That's right.
But I think that you were extremely smart in making these steps. Oh, you don't think so?
Well, I'd like to think we were smart. It made some people unhappy, and then we totally understood why. So we were trying to... Kickstarter was early. I think now I wouldn't do that. Both because we saw the reaction to what we did, which wasn't... It was positive from a group of people. It was not as positive from another group. I think we had seen successful Kickstarters start adding tiers after they had been more successful. And we were sitting there going, okay, a Defense Grid 2, the way it's designed, the way we know it should be, is about a $2 million game. And $2 million is too much to ask for on Kickstarter. Some people might get to $2 million, but that's usually they didn't ask for that. They asked for much less.
Right.
And we knew we had, from what we had made on Defense Grid 1, we could take, basically we could put our money towards it, but that would only get us halfway there. We had $1 million at the company that we could invest in Defense Grid 2, but that leaves us $1 million short. So what we said was, okay, let's see if we can get that $1 million from people, but let's have a tiered plan where if we only get $250,000, well, if we get less than $250,000, we're not going to do anything. No one's money gets taken. Everyone's good. Because it seemed like if we're a responsible, good game developer, we ought to be able to raise $250,000. That was our thinking. And so we said, for $250,000, we'll make a new expansion. For $500,000, and the thing, each of these steps were steps along the way to get us to the sequel. So what we have to do to make the sequel is we have to have a new story and a new experience that we want to do. And part of that was we'd come up with such a large story, we kind of had a prequel idea, and that's what Containment really is. And then the next thing we had to do was get the new engine running and ready for ship. And so at $500,000, we were going to re-release the original game and the new content, but on the Defense Grid 2 engine. So we would have the Defense Grid 2 technology, we just wouldn't have any of the Defense Grid 2 content, and that would be at that halfway point. That would also give us something that we could sell after the end of the Kickstarter and people could get if they pledged on the Kickstarter. At $750,000, we said, okay, well, we'll be on the new engine, so then we can finally do a level editor, because our original engine doesn't allow for a level editor. And we could also do Mac and Linux. And so that was $750,000, and then at $1 million, we'd do the full game. So that was our pitch. Some people didn't like the pitch. Some people really felt like it's either an all or nothing thing. You give us your amount, you cross it, and it's great, and you did it. You don't cross it, and you're not going to do it. And it may be that we didn't get as much money as we could have if we hadn't just done an all or nothing one. You can't know. You can't know which way it would have gone. We did the stair steps, and we raised about $275,000, a little bit more from some of the PayPal money that came in after Kickstarter. But basically, we're able to fund the expansion, fund all the work we had done on the Kickstarter, and then be able to give the expansion to backers and sell the expansion. And hopefully, profits from the expansion will help us get closer to DG2. And we'll see how much profits there are, how well it sells. It's hard to predict how well an expansion will sell. We know how the other expansions have done, and so if it does like that, we should make a little bit of money. We should get, a 100K, maybe 150K closer to being able to make Defense Grid 2 from that. So what we're doing, knowing that the expansion is not going to bridge the gap, is we're talking with new investors now who saw the Kickstarter, who saw what we promised for Containment, have seen us now deliver for Containment, are feeling better about that, and are now interested, now that we've delivered Containment, on starting to talk seriously about investing in Defense Grid 2, more as a traditional investor, not as a Kickstarter investor. Because Kickstarter isn't really investment; it's pledging, pre-ordering in a way. Right. Sometimes it's kind of more charitable giving in a way. There were people who were like, "Don't give me any rewards; just take the money because I want to see this made." But for most people, it's a pre-order of a product, and in this case, the investor would expect a return. And so we're talking about how can we make that work? How can we make the business work? Can we afford to make the game, get the money from them to do so, and then return their money to them, and then clear a profit on the project? And if we can do that, then I think we have a good shot at making the sequel.
Well, I hope to see the sequel.
Me too.
So I want to, and this is a little bit more in the business realm of things. But I have seen several game companies lately have some major disasters with their funding, but also with their relations with the people who are funding them.
Yeah, and it happens all the time.
And would you say that you guys did at least an okay job in communicating with the people who funded you?
For Kickstarter? Yeah, I'd like to think so. We've been in business now 7 years as Hidden Path Entertainment. And so the way a game development company works is that we pitch games. Often then a publisher will say, "That's a nice pitch. I'm not going to do that game, but why don't you make this other game for me instead?"
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's typically how it happens, actually. Sometimes they love your pitch, but most of the time they go, "Oh, that's a good pitch. That's kind of like this other thing that we know we want to do, and why don't you do that?" And so then they basically pay for that project. We build the project, and sometimes there's a royalty to us on it, and sometimes there's not. And ideally, as a developer, you want to work on projects where there are royalties. You want to be doing creative, original stuff. We had a point in our company's history where we had this pitch and some people really loved it, and they actually were going to give a tremendous amount of money into our company. They were actually going to buy a piece of the company so that we had enough money to make this project, and they would be owners of it as well. And that was in 2008. But unfortunately, by 2009, that company, the 5 board of directors had left, and new people came in, and they decided to kill that whole thing. And so this happens to you all the time as a game company. You have these plans, you're executing on the plans, you might be 1 year into a 3-year development because it takes a long time to make products, and all of a sudden the plans change. And so part of what you have to do is you have to keep really good relationships with people. You have to be known to keep your word. You have to have an understanding so they go, oh yeah, Jeff at Hidden Path, we know those guys, they deliver. And if they say this, then they're going to do that. Or if we had a bad experience, they made it right, right? So just like any business, you have to have really good relationships with the people that you work with. Our goal as a developer is to work for the customer directly. If we could work for no publisher and no financial people, we so would, right? We would, and that's what was exciting about Kickstarter, is here's a way to just work for the people who want to play your game.
That's right.
But overall, the people who just want to play your game pay for it after they get it. So if you could get the money up front, you know, but we as game developers, we can't borrow from a bank. There's no collateral. We don't have we actually have a very poor infrastructure for getting money. There is no great investor class of people, VCs, who are looking for video game companies and are interested in making content. Usually a venture capital fund, if they want games, they're looking for multiple little companies they can combine together and resell as a bigger company that has market share to someone else who is going to then use that market share to sell to a different company. So that kind of thing tends to not work well for those of us who are just focused on trying to make good product and release it and have a profitable company. A lot of the investors are looking for the fast turnaround.
How does it work out in the aspect of doing what you love and the money will follow?
Well, I mean, I think that's what we're doing. I mean, that's to some extent so here's the irony, right? Is that there's a knob. I am constantly reminded how lucky I am to get to work in the video game business. I've been in the video game business for 15 years. I talk to hundreds of people who want to be in the video game business, who ask questions, how do I get in all of this? From their perspective, I have made it.
Yeah.
But from my colleagues' perspective, we're not yet living the exact dream that we want. We want to be just making games for the customer and not working for the publishers and not trying to work for the investors and then hope, you know, and so for us, we're still working to achieve the goal, and we look at other game developers who have made it, who are making games solely for the consumer, and we're like, wow, and they're like, no, I haven't made it yet, because they have a new goal, right? So wherever you are, it's relative. But we do love what we do. I love who I work with. I love the kinds of projects we do. It's very scientific, yet it's very artistic, and it combines technology and entertainment in a really meaningful and fun way. And I think we really analyze what's play about. What is the emotional experience that you go through as you go through a game experience? What problem solving and interesting decisions are you making? What's the pace of the interesting decisions that you're making? We ask a lot of questions, and we try and really create great product from that analysis and from that understanding. And it's a hit-driven business. You need to have a really big hit, which generates you a lot of money, which gives you a lot of creative freedom to try and continue to make more games and hopefully more hits. And we're not quite there yet. We have some great opportunities. I really love our company. I think we have a very bright future, a huge future ahead, but we're not there yet. We as a company, we work with and for other companies, and we also get to do some things that we self-publish or with the Kickstarter where we work for our customers. So your original question was, how do you communicate with your customers? Hopefully very well. But sometimes our customers are businesses, sometimes our customers are investors, sometimes our customers are the people who play the games. We like that one the best.
It's hard work.
Yeah, but it's fun work.
Well,
but
it is.
It's hard work, especially, you know, when you have 7,000 people who this week we had sent the keys for Containment because we had a beta period. We sent the keys the first week of December, and a lot of people, I'm going to say about a third of the people jumped into the beta at that time. But 2/3, I think, were waiting for it to be finished and final.
That was me.
And a large portion of them are emailing in the last 24 hours saying, "Where's my key?"
Oh yeah, because they didn't realize they already got it
to you.
Yeah.
here it is again, because I can go and I can search for that email and I can find it. And, because each person's key is completely unique and different. So you don't want to send them someone else's key, and make sure that it works. And so it can be time consuming to have 7,000 customers. But you know what? If that's the steps I do so that they can play the game and enjoy the game, and then write us back how much fun they had and how much they love it. Okay, great.
Yeah, well, that was me, and I was totally like, oh, it's done? It's out of beta? Okay, I'm on it. So that was actually the word that I was waiting for before I fired up the game again, because I, to me, as a gamer, this is all about entertainment. It's not about work. And a beta implies to me that there's some work involved because I may end up getting stopped by a bug or run into something that is irritating or whatever. And I'm in it for the pleasure, for the entertainment. And and I think that's perfectly acceptable. I mean, I think the beta was there for us to figure out balancing. So we put out the levels, I think, a little harder than we would have during the beta, and then figured out how much to make them easier over time. We ran into a couple bugs. Most of them were not big showstoppers, but some of them you'd have to restart a level, and we fixed them and we found them. But it was really helpful, and we got suggestions from people and ideas. But what we didn't want to do was ruin the experience of seeing it for the first time. So we put out the levels before they had any art on them whatsoever. So they were actually kind of ugly. And there was no story, there was no dialogue. It was just play the levels, experience the modes, and we could watch the statistics of how people did, where they stopped, and get feedback from people about what waves felt too hard, what waves felt too good. In the end, we did not tweak them as much as we expected to. We tweaked them a fair amount, but we actually had planned to tweak them about 3 to 4 times as much. But we, I guess, have done this for a while and then started off fairly close. Yeah. And so the metrics were coming in kind of like where we wanted to, and we changed, I don't know, 4 of the levels a little more substantially than the other 4, and it was pretty good. And then we were able to focus our time on the art, on the story, on the presentation, on the lighting. We got to do some new things. I don't know if you've seen the trailer with the spacecraft moving and with shadows moving and with being, having some parallax that's new and different. And so we were able to do some fun things that show off the game a little bit more than it has before. Cool. Jeff, would you be interested in taking calls from a few of the viewers?
Sure.
Okay, so those of you who are watching who have a question that would be good for Jeff, feel free to call in now. And, I suppose, let's see, what all is fair game? Talking about Defense Grid, or maybe...
any question is fair game, I just may not answer.
Okay, so there we have it. I go on that same policy, too. And occasionally the question is extremely funny but unanswerable.
Well, and I'll try and explain why if I can't answer.
Yeah,
because, oftentimes, like, the one that's most common is, well, why can't you tell me about the game that you are working on? And often it's because it's not ready to share with you, because if I tell you how cool it is, maybe you'll believe, maybe you won't. I can't show you it's that cool
and
yet.
It won't translate when you look at it. It's not ready yet.
But often it's because we're working with a partner, and it's their property, they own it, we're the ones developing it, and therefore we have to completely defer to them for the ownership of what gets said, when, and they have a whole plan about that. And so part of our job that lets us maintain our jobs is by keeping those things confidential. So that's part of it too.
Yeah. So while we're waiting for people to start calling in, I found that it usually takes people just a few minutes to start warming up to the idea of calling in. And once one calls in, a whole bunch come in. It's like going to the grocery store and there'll be only one checkout line and it gets full really fast.
Sure.
Defense Grid Containment and Defense Grid, where do people go to buy that? So as of Wednesday, if you go to Steam, it'll be featured there, and it will be $4.99 as an expansion. I'll give you a secret that no one knows that I'm going to tell you. The game and some of the other content, not Containment, will be on sale at that time too. Be discounted. Oh, okay.
So normally the entire Defense Grid everything bundle with containment will be $20, but that'll also be discounted a little bit too. So on Wednesday, for a short period of time, there'll be a discount on all the rest of the content if you don't already have it, and if you do, containment will be $4.99.
Wow. So okay, that's pretty good. I know that for myself, I was looking at my stats today, and I'm not a hardcore gamer in this area, but I saw that I had played 29 hours of Defense Grid so far.
That's a big number.
And so yeah, well that's a little bit of time, and I plan on doing a few more Let's Plays and you know, playing some live on Twitch like we're doing tonight, except for we're not playing. And yeah, and so yeah, you guys, you can call right now if you want to.
Maybe I'm just not that interesting, but that's okay. I don't mind.
Yeah, I see a whole bunch of people saying in chat that they want to call, but my microphone's not working. Blah blah blah. Okay, well,
we can take questions from chat.
We could. So I did have Thamulus. You know. His question, I think we kind of covered it already, which is Kickstarter good for getting money to develop a game? And
I think the answer is yes, but how much? And then the question becomes, for the amount of money you want to raise, how many people can you reach? And my newest metric is, if you wanted to get a bunch of people to go to a website, how many people would that be? Divide that by 2, and that's probably the amount of money you can raise.
Yeah, unless you go viral, which is getting lucky.
Right. If you have something so special and so...
Oh, shoot. I hate it when I do that. Darn it.
Oh?
Yeah, try calling right back, buddy. Sorry, I've made a mistake on how I did that. I hate it when I do that. I call on hold, resume call. Man, I hate that when I make that mistake. Jeff, are you still there?
I'm here. I don't see myself. Hold on. There we go.
Yeah, I have this issue with that I make this mistake. It seems like every first time we take a call, I make this mistake of putting the call on hold, and instead of getting it to work right. So.
Urgent.
Yeah, it's.
But anyway, I think I think Kickstarter is really cool, and I think the people who have the most compelling things on Kickstarter already have something to show, and I think that's really if you think you're gonna go viral, you already have to have something that's really compelling to show.
Yeah. Okay, so Batty, welcome to the show.
Hello, Mikey.
Hi, it looks like we don't have video from you because your Skype version is not high enough, but that's okay. So
I'm actually using my tablet right now.
Yeah, well,
cool.
Yeah, so when you're using your tablet, it doesn't allow for multiple video streams.
Thank you, Skype.
Yeah, so Batty, what is your question?
Well, I've been thinking about giving you a call on the subject of crowdfunding for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you have this awesome guest right there, who did a crowdfunding campaign, I thought, hey, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
So what do you want to know about crowdfunding?
Well, as I see it, crowdfunding is a great tool for small companies and indie companies.
Yep.
But of late, I see a trend. I see bigger companies and even publishers try to crowdfund their stuff.
Sure.
And actually, I'm a bit worried about that.
What worries you about it?
Well, from my perspective, I'm no businessman, but the way I see it, you actually sell a product beforehand, and you didn't. You sell it before you made it.
Yes.
And Well, doesn't that result in possibly worse games because the developers have no incentive to do really good because they sold?
I don't think the incentives are there the way you think they are. Yeah, no, the money is not enough. Just to be simply, games are so expensive to make that I'm never going to do a crowdfunding and go, I am so rich, I'm not going to make the game. I don't know anyone in this business who would think that way. Usually what you're doing is you're getting money from crowdfunding to add to the money that you have that's not enough so that you can make the game. And your hope is that you make this game that can make 3 times, 5 times, 10 times the money if it's really successful. If it's not successful, hopefully it'll make the money back. But and then you actually, that's what we normally live with, is that if it's not as successful, we may or may not make our money back. With crowdfunding, we don't have to make as much back. We now only, let's say I crowdfund for $150,000, but it really costs $400,000 to make my game. Well, at least now I get the 150. I have my own 250. I've got my 400. I now go and sell it. As long as it makes 250, I all of a sudden became profitable. So the game gets made when it might not have gotten made because I didn't have enough. And if I make a really good game, it might not just make 400. It might make 600, 800, a million, 2 million. And all of a sudden now I have money to make more games. And that's what I think we're all looking for in our business, is enough money so that we can continuously make product to find that one big hit product that will really give us the freedom to even try crazier stuff. Mm-hmm. It's very much an economic business that's very challenging. I used to work at multiple big companies before we formed Hidden Path 7 years ago, and the average game, only 15%, 1/5, of games released, like on PC and console, make back their money that it cost to make them. 85% of games. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's a terrible ratio from my perspective. 15%.
It is. Yeah, it is consistent with entertainment properties. Movies are about the same way. Books are even worse. Movies are a little worse. So actually, games are considered good at 15%. But entertainment's tough. If you want to make entertainment, people like good entertainment. Good entertainment is expensive, and only the best purchased entertainment makes enough to cover the expense of the risk. So that's why it's really hard to find people who are willing to invest in entertainment, because it's considered a very risky business. It's considered a hit-driven business. If you are successful, you make a very large return. If you are unsuccessful, you typically lose money. Sometimes you only lose a little. You don't lose all. Very rarely do you lose all the money you put in, but it is very common. 85% of games probably lose a little bit of money or barely break even. But the 15% tend to make money and then make a lot of money. So what's smart, this is why publishers are so more dominant in the past, and we're seeing it being a little different now, is that to have any kind of smart business, you had to have a portfolio of games. You had to have 5, 6, 7 games that you put out there where 4 of them were going to lose a little bit of money, but 1 of them was going to be very successful, cover your other losses, and make your profits as a company. So in a way, kind of like a mutual fund person, you had to have enough products in play to make it make sense. Now that we have this world of digital distribution where I can make games typically fairly inexpensively compared to what it costs to, say, to make a game that goes to retail, because the cost of manufacturing it, of shipping it, of storing it, of getting it on the shelf, of marketing it so people come into the stores, those are all really big costs that in digital distribution we don't have anymore. So that's exciting. So that makes our product cost a little lower, and so you're seeing more people take risks with their own money, and you're seeing more products out there. But from what I understand, the percentage of success is still pretty similar. A lot of people make games and then they don't make enough money, and then they leave the game industry or they go get a job working for someone else. So sorry for the very long answer. I think crowdfunding is awesome in that it can get you to get people to buy a game before it gets made, but I don't think it takes away your incentive in any way. I think your incentive is still exactly the same.
So, do you believe that crowdfunding results in more games being made?
Is it more? I don't know. I think what it might be. I mean, what I would think more games being made is more people who can make a living making games, and it's really hard to make a living making games. So if more people are funded, whether it be from crowdfunding or their own money, because they can afford to make these games, then yeah, I think it does. You know, you've seen. It used to be that the games that people bought before really digital downloads, and there was kind of casual web, and there was AAA console and PC. And then digital download came along, XBLA games that cost a lot less to make. You know, Steam indie download games that cost a lot less to make. Our game costs a lot less to make than the kinds of games we all used to work on. We used to work on games that were $8 million, $10 million, $12 million budgets. And Defense Grid's a $2 million budget game, as is Defense Grid 2. And these are still a large amount of money, more than I have, more than I expect anyone watching has. But they're in the realm of where you could potentially crowdfund a portion of it. You know, and some people are making $500,000 games for mobile phones. Facebook games these days are typically running around $1 million for most of the competitive ones. Your console games now, they're getting up to $2 to $4 million for XBLA if they're bigger, and they're $15 to $30 million. An Assassin's Creed was probably an $80 million game. I'm hearing Halo 4 was in the $300 million to $500 million range. The dollars are getting really, really big to make the kind of entertainment that you want. And of course, you go to the store, you get a game, you paid $60 or you paid $10 for the download or whatever, and you're getting something that was funded by someone else, hoping there was a lot of you out there to make all that money go into the product so that you could enjoy your $60 worth. But, you know, on Halo, your $60 worth is a portion of, I'll call it $400 million for all I know. Whereas when you buy our game, your $10 or $15 worth is a portion of a $2 million game. Hope that helps understand the economics of it, at least, anyway.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. I didn't know much about that stuff, because I'm a normal gamer. I just buy the things, I don't make them.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is people say, wow, why do games cost so much money? 90% of all dollars that are in a game budget go to people. We have sometimes games, like an Assassin's Creed, I'm going to guess, you looking at the credits, it was about 300 people working for about 2.5, 3 years. You know, that's 900 person years. That costs a lot of money to pay those, especially some of those really good people, that much for that long. Whereas a Defense Grid, is going to cost, hopefully 10 to 15 people for a year. Defense Grid 2, right? And so that's what you end up doing. And so what we try and do is use our experience, use our background to be able to have a game that's competitive enough and interesting enough with a small number of person months.
Okay, Batty. I hope that answers some of your questions.
Yeah, it did, certainly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for your call. Okay.
Thanks, Batty.
So, I think that all of us have dreamed, all of us who play games have dreamed at one point or another of making a game. And in fact, I was so disgusted with the management of the War Z, a few a month ago or so, that I decided that I was going to troll them. And
that was so nice of you.
Well, I decided that I was going to make a video about making a video game and how I would run it.
Okay.
And so I talked for probably 20 minutes or so about all these different things, and about the different gameplay and the different customer service and everything. And then at the very end, I'm like, and I'm going to name it War Z. And so it was my vision of what the game should be.
Sure.
And but then something really interesting happened, which is here I am just doing this troll thing, just really trying to, be a little bit of a jerk, but at the same time, really prove a point that there was something wrong here. And all of these people, all of a sudden, I got flooded with all these people saying, Marky, I want to support your game.
There you go.
But yeah, I was really surprised, and everybody's like, start a Kickstarter and everything. I don't know if I want to start a Kickstarter after hearing all the work you went through. But
it's a lot.
yeah, so it's
you know why it's a lot? To be serious, I think it would affect you too, is because you care.
Mm-hmm.
You know that each email you get with a question is a person who honestly wants to know something, and so you don't sleep so you can answer all the emails because you want everyone to love your product. Mm-hmm. It's, anyone who's an entertainer cares a lot about the audience, whether they're a stage performer, whether they're a movie actor, whether, they're making video games or writing a book. You care about the audience because you're trying to entertain someone. Mm-hmm. And we have a whole different world now where we can talk to anyone anywhere, and people will respond to you. I don't know if you read much fantasy literature, but I was fortunate enough to be invited to be at someone's table for the Child's Play charity auction here in Seattle when Penny Arcade did their charity auction. And I got to meet the author Patrick Rothfuss, who wrote The Name of the Wind, and I can't think of the name of the second book, but it was awesome. I kept going. It's like one book to me. But I loved his stuff, and here you are, I get to meet this author, and I'm in video games, but I don't run into book authors who sit and create worlds and write great books a lot. And it was so interesting to talk with him, and I was such a fanboy, and I was really excited about it. But yeah, it's just this access that sometimes happens. In this case, it was very fortunate. It's not always rare. Where consumers of entertainment are meeting with the creators of entertainment, and as an entertainment creator, I want to foster that. I want people who love our game to be able to talk with us and get to know us and understand a little bit more about what went into the product, and what we were designing and what we were trying to make it happen. Sometimes we're going to be successful, and sometimes it's not going to quite work, but we care, and hopefully they can do that. And I think the Kickstarter for us, because we were trying to do enough to get $1 million, we spent a lot more money on running the Kickstarter than we should have. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say it was hugely profitable for us, but I will say it got us a connection to a large audience who became very engaged.
They become your evangelists for the game.
I hope so, but not just because I want them to be evangelists. I want them to be part of the family. I want them to be interested. I want the game to become their game. I want to hear what they want. I want to be able to try out ideas. What I don't want to do is try and crowdsource the design. And this may sound counterintuitive. I don't want to... how politicians sometimes feel like they're making decisions based on the polls, and then you don't know who the politician is. They're just whoever the polls say they are. Mm-hmm. We need to have an identity. We need to be game creators, and we need to make a product and put that out there and say, please, this is us. What do you think of it? Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But this is our product. But what we do all the time is we say, okay, we're going to do this thing, and then we start looking, there's like 4 ways to do it. And deciding which of the ways to do that can sometimes be really helpful to put those in front of the audience and help them make a decision not on the what you're going to do, but on the how you're going to do it.
One of the beautiful things about Kickstarter is it allows you to test a product before it's made.
Oh, yeah.
And it allows you to get that other research in to know exactly what product it is that your audience wants you to make. And that, in turn, should make your sales more successful because you're delivering the goods that more people want.
That's what we think. And in our business with the downloadable games, you often don't know until people start buying it. Mm-hmm. If you look at how Facebook games have been made, often they put out something that's just barely a game, and then they A/B test groups of audience members. And if people like one feature, they move that feature to everybody. and then they A/B test new features, and they're constantly changing the game because that audience isn't as discerning.
Mm-hmm.
We'd rather not try and change the game after you buy it in a dramatic way. We'd rather have people who are interested, who are want to be involved early, and help them, have them test things and try things out and put new ideas in front of them and see what they like and what they don't like, and then use that to inform us as we decide, what to make. But I think it's really, there's a key thing of having a community that is engaged. There's another key thing of how you interact with them and what you ask them and what you don't ask them, because they want entertainment provided to them, but they want to have a say in it as opposed to trying to be directing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, well, Jeff, I want to thank you for your time.
You bet.
It's been a pleasure talking with you again. I know that I was out at your offices when you were doing the Kickstarter campaign.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was fun to see the whole place and to see some people I know who work there. And anyway, I just want to thank you for your time. I have learned many new things from this. I think one of the biggest things is I'm not so hot to go into a Kickstarter myself, and I would rather that if we're going to move forward with making a game, that I get a publisher to work with or a developer to work with, somebody other than me trying to make it.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is that we get calls all the time from people who say, "I have this great idea for a game," and unlike the movie business, which has kind of templates, we don't. Each game is different. You could give the same design document to 3 different game studios, and they'll make 3 different games. Pretty different.
Interesting.
So what typically people hire are game developers who have a team who can make a game. They don't typically pay for ideas for a game. We have, Mark Toronto, our design director, has 150 design documents of different games in our design directory that we'd love to make.
Right.
But we have more ideas than we have time or money for. Right. So it becomes a question of which is the right game to make next, and what's going to fit, what does the audience want, what do we think they want, what would be new. But so you end up having a real challenge.
If someone had the funding and the idea, though, then a company like yours would be for hire, right?
The money always wins.
Yeah. So
it's true.
Okay.
I mean, because our business is one that is underfunded. So the most valuable person on any game team is the people who bring the money to the table. Now, if they're really smart, they hire the smartest people to make games for them, unless they have both money and game design talent. But that's very rare that you run into that.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks again, and touch base with us when you've got one of these other unannounced games that you want to start talking about.
Happy to do that.
And everybody can find Defense Grid on Steam. If you wait till Wednesday, you get Containment for $5.
Yep.
And then there may be a special price on the whole package.
Yeah, the bundle.
On Wednesday as well.
Discounted them as well.
Yeah. So
for a short period of time.
Okay. Well, thanks again. I appreciate
Thank you, Marcus.
Yep. So take care.
Have a good evening.
Okay. Okay. So that was cool. I like Jeff. I've spent a little bit of time with him before. They're up in Seattle, and or actually it's Bellevue. They're in Bellevue, I believe. And a friend of mine works there, and it's Jeff is always willing to lend a helping hand and to offer his wisdom and expertise, which I think is really neat. So, and he took this on very last minute. So that was really great, because I only saw yesterday that they were out of beta and releasing, and so I'm like, ooh, I got to get in on this. So, okay, now back to the original topic. What we've just been through is Jeff telling us about their success and how hard it was with doing a Kickstarter project. After talking to him, it gives me a much better understanding of what some of these other companies are going through after having a successfully funded project. One of them being Greedmonger. And Greedmonger is a game that it's like the sandbox MMO. I am a backer. Sly Jesse is a backer. I've seen him talking in chat tonight, and probably several others of you who are watching this are backers, and they've had some really difficult issues to go through, and I'm putting them kind of like Defense Grid is a success story. They didn't reach their $1 million goal, but they did hit at least their bottom line goal to make more content. And Greedmonger, now they got funded, and they got funded really well, but now we're seeing that they're having some difficulties with the technology, with communication with the public, and with some other things. It's always been a leap of faith with funding projects like this, especially when you hear about things like New Dawn that was funded through Indiegogo, and that everybody got taken on it in a huge style. Now, granted, everyone got their money refunded, but it was a sham, all the way from the beginning, and that is that's what we all worry about, is these fake things that come up, and so anyway, it's I don't know. Let's go ahead and take some calls. How does that sound? And I'll have to reset up my Skype screen here. But here we go. Let's see here. Green Gem, how are you? Hello, Mr. Green Gem. Are you there?
Yeah, man. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'm on video.
That's okay. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a gamer. I'm trying to join your War Z clan, but I have no idea how.
Okay. So the War Z clan is playwarz.net, and there's notes in there that tell you how to join the clan so that you can play with us. You look for the notes section. It just goes to our Facebook page.
Yeah, the main thing I wanted to know is how to give you guys the gold coins required for it, because I got some money for gold coins. I just don't know how to actually give it to you guys.
And I don't recall how I did it when I joined the clan, but when you after you're joined, you can donate to the clan. I don't know if you can donate beforehand, or you have to put in your application and then you can donate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, did you have anything else on your mind?
I wanted to know for Greedmonger. They said that the beta or the alpha was going to be in April. I don't think that it would take 6 months to get even a playable build of an MMO. It usually takes at least 1 year for production, just of the lore, the characters, the map, etc. I don't understand how they would do it in 6 months for an MMO.
And I think you're right on target with that comment. I do not expect that they are going to make their April date. They talked about some stuff in their forums recently that they ran into an issue with their technology licenses, with their world or their server infrastructure, and so to use the server infrastructure they wanted, they need to pay royalties off of each person that's playing, but that conflicts with it being a free-to-play game, and to where it's only land that's purchased, and the license, the company that's going to do the license is worried about whether or not they'll actually make any money off of that model, which I have to say in the very beginning that I was like, hey, I don't know that we're going to make any money, or that it's going to make any money whatsoever enough to support the infrastructure of operations just from the buying and selling of land.
My question is that, I mean, is the game going to be free to play? Is it going to be like the Guild Wars system where you just buy a box copy and you don't pay a monthly fee? Because I think that would attract the most players. You don't have like stupid, content packs or anything. You just have one thing you buy and then you have the game, and then everything else is just, like, cosmetic that isn't necessarily like game breaking.
So in their Kickstarter campaign, and I'm just pulling this off the top of my head, so it's possible that I get this wrong or a little bit wrong or whatever, but it's my recollection that the Kickstarter campaign said that what you're doing is you buy land, and that is the only cash transaction that happens. The game is free to play, but to own land you have to buy the land, and the land was only being sold in the Kickstarter campaign. And so after that, you'll have to buy it from another player.
Okay.
So,
like, what do you actually buy besides land? Is it like armor sets? Is it like the DDO system where you buy
land.
content?
Land is the only thing you buy for cash.
I mean, are they even going to make enough money that way? Because I don't.
Well, that's what I was saying. That I didn't think that it was a profitable model.
Like, what about all the player killers that just kill everyone? I mean, I don't think they need a house, right? Unless it's for storage.
I'm not sure how to respond to that.
And they were a really small team. I think it was about like 10 or 20 people, right?
They are a very small team. Yes. So,
like, I don't think indie MMOs usually fail. I mean, I'm not trying to be negative because I'm a backer for the game as well. So, I just think indie MMOs usually don't work because MMOs have huge development costs. They require so much work and a lot of time, and usually the average now for MMO development time is 5 years. I doubt they can even do it in 1 year, It's just like Ultima Online was in 3. They did that game in 3 years, so it took them 3 years to complete it. And that game still had a lot of problems, and, it was a much older game and it was newer, so...
Yeah, well, we just have to see how it plays out. Anyone who committed funds to Greedmonger was making a leap of faith, and a leap of faith specifically in Jason Appleton, that he'll be able to put this together. He has a lot of inexperience with game development. He's not been in game development before. We talked to him several times. I actually at one point pulled my pledge that I had, and then after one of the interviews I did with him, I went ahead and put it back in again because I felt like it was worth the risk. And but I did not make a big pledge. I had planned on making a very big pledge if I was able to afford it, but in the end I significantly reduced my pledge. So I will have some land in the game, but it's not going to be anything huge. And we'll just see how it goes.
That'd be awesome if you guys had a clan for that game. Massive castles.
Yes, well, I understand that Sly Jesse, who I was talking to a little bit earlier, we were talking about like a wiki site or a clan or something like that, and he has one of the pieces to the puzzle to do it right. And Jesse knows what I'm talking about. But
just so you know, I might randomly disconnect because my internet's been just going down randomly sometimes, but hopefully that doesn't happen.
Okay, well, great time to end the call.
Okay.
So, thank you for your call, Mr. Green Gem, and we'll talk to you sometime soon.
Thanks.
He was not too thrilled that I was ending the call, but I didn't. Sometimes it can be difficult to get to the point, and that's what I was feeling like there. So let's try another call here. Oh, he just quit ringing in. So, lines are open if you want to call in. We got a little bit more time in the show tonight. And, okay, let's see here. Hello, Tyler. You're on the air.
Hey, Marky, do you remember me?
I am not sure.
I was on a stream, I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And I forgot my question. And now I remember my question.
Okay. Well, go for it.
Okay, my question is, what is the game that you've enjoyed the most?
What is the game that I enjoyed the most? Well, it has to be Ultima Online, but, that's just such an obvious answer. One of the games that I really enjoyed was Legend of Zelda. And that one was really great. There's another game that I enjoyed that was, I think it was called Gulag 13. And it was about being in a Russian prison and having to escape. And that game was really hard because it was on a console and you couldn't save it. And it took literally about 20 hours of gameplay to get to the end. And so we would get pretty far in the game, and then I would leave notes on the Nintendo, don't touch. So that when I came back I could play some more. And sometimes people paid attention to the notes, sometimes they didn't. So, yep. Gulag 13, yes, Battle Vortex, Mr. Fear, thank you in the chat room. Gulag 13. It was a pretty epic game. It was a simple game, but I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. So, okay, Tyler, thank you for your call.
Yep, thank you.
Yep, take care.
Yep.
Okay, so, it was, that game was quite a long time ago. And I think that was 16-bit Nintendo, I think. So, okay. Got time for a couple more calls. I've basically talked about everything that I had on my mind. And I'll give you guys a minute to call in if we have any more calls. Otherwise, we are about the end of the show. Not quite as long a session tonight, but maybe that'll be okay. So, anyway, and so we will be playing War Z tomorrow, for those of you watching the live stream right now. And the clan will be doing that. And then I have got the new Defense Grid content, and I am hoping to get some play in on that before it's released and show it to all of you. So, okay. Let's see here. Hello, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really, really good.
So, now I'm not even sure that I can pronounce your name.
It's Frithor.
Frithord. Okay.
Frithor.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to try and slaughter it again.
You're not the first one to do that.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Icelandic. I'm a gamer. I've spent a lot of time in front of the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Not too much. That's pretty much my only hobby where I live now. And
And now.
So I'm an extreme gamer, if you could say so.
Okay. And you said you live in Iceland.
I live in Norway, but I'm from Iceland.
Oh, you're from Iceland. Okay.
So I live almost as far north in Norway as you can go. It's probably like for you, like in northern Alaska.
Oh, wow! So up near the North Pole.
Yeah, I'm inside the polar circle.
Oh, wow! Yeah. Okay.
So it's dark of the day, and the thing I was thinking about this. What do you think about separating of servers between regions of the world, like for example World of Tanks. I see you play and you have like 13, 14, 15,000 people playing.
Right.
While we have in Europe like 150,000 people playing, and in Russia it's like 450,000 or something.
Yeah, it's not it's interesting how it's not as popular in the United States as it is in Europe and in Russia, and but I still enjoy the hell out of the game. Now, as far as it being there, okay, so let me just say that, okay, with it being like 450,000 people in Russia, and then there's 150,000 people in Europe, and there's us 20,000 people at any given time in the U.S. If we were global, like one big world, and every time I joined a game, I would have probably 60% of the people speaking in Russian. And so I would not be able to, I wouldn't be able to communicate and chat very well unless they were speaking in English. And maybe Russians know English, or maybe they don't. But as if I were a Russian, I would find it easier to communicate in my native language than I would in a secondary language. And then there's also the deal of where the servers are located and issues with the costs of direct communication to the servers. So the servers, I believe that the World of Tanks servers for here in the U.S. are located in Washington, D.C. And the servers for Europe are located in London. I don't know where they're located for in Russia, but when you have the servers closer geographically to where you live, you have less lag problems. And so the cost of having a separate service there may be it may be more profitable to do it that way because there's less people who are upset about their laggy connection to the game. And so they're willing to spend more on the game. And there is technological solutions for getting direct connects across the Atlantic. And stuff
I know.
Like that.
I play online, and then I'm playing with people from like Australia and the US and like everywhere. So I know that it's possible.
It is possible, and now CCP has put an enormous amount of money into their infrastructure and into. They are one of the more technological companies, so they've chosen a different route because it is just one server there. So now now you being from Iceland, is EVE Online like the Iceland national video game?
No, it's not that possible. Like on EVE FanFest, it's mostly foreigners. It's not that many Icelanders. So. There are a lot of Icelanders that play, but we're really not that many. Like the population in EVE is like the same as in Iceland. So. And it's also like you say, it's really time consuming and really complex game, and it's absolutely one of the best games I ever played. Because I've played it for like 6 years, and at the moment I'm playing with 6 accounts. 6
accounts?
Yeah, so if you get into it and if you tie into it, it becomes, like you say, you don't want to get tied up, it becomes a hobby. So, and I dragged my brothers and my friend into it to have someone to play with.
So tell me how much, with having 6 accounts, how much money are you spending on the game per month? Are you willing to tell us?
I pay yearly subscription on all of them. So I am not completely sure what 1 year on the EVE site is, but it is quite an amount. But on the other hand, I really don't have many hobbies, so...
I mean, if you look at the cost of going out to a movie or whatnot, and if you went to, say 3 or 4 movies a month, you would probably be paying more than what you're paying for playing the game.
Yeah, it would be more. It would be more.
Yeah. So
I still don't do a lot of things like that.
do you ever buy game codes and then change them into ISK in the game?
No, with that many accounts, I really don't have to, because I NPC hunt to get money, and I have three accounts with top-notch ship to do it. So I have enough money. I can make enough money in game with that many accounts. But a friend of mine, he has only got one account, and he is getting his first carrier and his skill boost for the carrier and capital ships, the fuel, navigation skills, and everything. So he's been adding a little bit of in-game, a little bit of game code currency. Game code, add a little bit up to, so he doesn't get bankrupt. So, but when you have that many accounts, you can also be having industrial characters, you have rating characters, you have PvP characters, so you can get into very many aspects of the game, but I still don't do everything the game has to offer. It's just so it has so many things that you want to do. Like some people, they only stay in station for like they almost never undock, just trading, buying and selling things, because it's just what they do. It's what they like, and it's fun for them just to buy and sell and do market things like that. So.
Now, with having 6 accounts, have you ever tried multi-boxing?
I multi-box all the time. When I'm making money, I am playing on 3 accounts at least.
Okay.
So
yeah, I thought about that. I actually talked to CCP about multi-boxing and about whether or not that was okay, within their rules, because some games don't allow that. And for those of you who don't know what multi-boxing is, it's where you have, like 3, 4, 5 accounts or whatever, and you bind them all to one account, and so when you move that one spaceship in a direction, all of them go in that direction. And you do it with third-party software.
No, I don't do it like that. I have to control them all separately. So.
Oh, you do? Okay.
It's just you just have to learn how to do it. It's one of the traits you have to learn if you're an extreme player in the game. Then you have to learn how to be able to control many accounts at a time. You can be scouting, you can be with fleet boosting ship, hiding somewhere in the system. Then you can have a main PvP ship. So, and then also when I'm ratting, I'm killing NPCs on 3 accounts open on my computer at a time.
Sounds interesting. Very interesting.
It's like I say, but it's really tiring. But the good thing is that when I get really bored with the game, because when with every game, then you get to hate it. So then I can always, because of how the skills work. Even if I don't play in 1 or 2 months or 3 months, I can always go in and add skills to my character, and it will always get better, because it's just time that counts for skill. Even if I get bored with the game, when I go back, then I can fly a new cool ship, or you do something new and cool, or something like that. So.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, did your original question that you called for get answered?
Yeah, but so it's
okay.
It was just like with like, and it was also with the forums, like US and EU forums are separate. With the language barrier, as you said, I play on the European server, and then we have they speak Polish, French, German, Italian, thing in chat. So.
Yeah, well, I guess us Americans are lucky in the fact that we have our own server set then. But if you really start to think about it, when actually do you do anything constructive? I've watched a lot of your World of Tank videos. It's almost never anything constructive that you really do in the chat, because it's so limited. It disappears after like 5 seconds or something. So, right. You are correct. We don't do a lot, but I watch what other people are complaining about or talking about, and just use what information is good for how I make my decisions of playing. I do not type in there a lot myself unless somebody's like, "Oh my God, it's Marky Dragon! I'm such a big fan," and then I'll just tell them thank you or whatever. So,
I see it for arty hating when I'm on the artillery.
yeah. So
they always blame the artillery when they don't know how to take cover themselves. Bastards.
Yep. Okay, well, thank you very much for your call. I appreciate it. You have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. I'll see you. Contact you maybe later.
Okay, sounds good.
A pleasure.
Okay. Bye. Okay, so now, hello, Mr. Leonardo da Vinci. Hello? Hello?
Hello, sorry about that.
There we go. There we go.
How are you, Marky?
I'm doing good. Are you audio only, or do you have video as well?
Audio only, yeah.
Okay.
A little bit paranoid about having my face on the internet like you do.
Yeah, it usually works out okay, but not always.
Yeah, not always. So, my question is, what is your most... of 2012, which game did you enjoy the absolute most, and which game did you pretty much absolutely hate?
War Z.
For both of those?
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, that's actually a pretty good answer.
Yeah. You know, it's the most hated game, and it's a game that I'm very passionate about. And I finally broke down and loaded up DayZ as well. And I've got probably about 5 hours of gameplay into DayZ. And while I can see why a lot of people are of these different camps of DayZ and War Z, they are separate products. And they are very separate. And so I actually think that they both have their own strengths and they both have their own weaknesses. Beyond that, I'm trying to think of what else. You know, I played a lot of World of Tanks. I got back into World of Tanks in 2012, and after taking about a year hiatus from it, and I didn't play a whole lot more stuff. I tried Guild Wars 2.
Yeah.
I got probably about 30 hours into it, and I decided that it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, I've noticed those videos started slowing down.
Yeah, and so, I'm always looking for more games. I am so excited that, one of the reasons why I had Jeff from Hidden Path on tonight for Defense Grid was because that is my first Kickstarter that I've backed that completed. To where I today got what I paid for. And
okay.
So I was very excited about that, and I can't wait to go play that. So it's not necessarily so exciting when it's, online or whatnot. I don't know how to do highlights. Ooh, you blew up that Zergling-looking thing. But it was pretty good. So, now, what kind of games have you played in 2012?
You name it, I've pretty much played it. I personally not really into multiplayer games, MMOs. Pretty much the only MMO I play now is War Z. But the one I'm really into at the moment, single player game, is Far Cry 3. I am absolutely obsessed with that game. Have you played that one? Or?
I have not. I've seen some gameplay of it, and it looks kind of interesting. But I don't have enough time for all the games I want to do right now as it is. If I could just shed some responsibilities, then maybe I could make more time to play games more all day.
yeah, that's true. Since you're your own boss, you can't exactly call in sick, so...
Yeah. Okay, well, Mr. Leonardo, one suggestion for you. Get a better microphone for the next time. It's pretty bad. But
Is this better? Or?
Yeah. It sounds like it's in your mouth half the time.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much for your call. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks for watching the show.
Never miss the show, ever.
Oh, ever. Wow.
Ever.
Okay, cool. Okay, one more call, people, and then we're done. Who gets the lottery ticket? In fact, yeah, speaking of lottery tickets, I've got something that is courtesy of Greedmonger. And so I'm going to just show it to you guys here in chat. And this is for World of Warcraft. And here we go. It's a mount code. And it's from Kevin at Greedmonger. And so, thank you, Kevin. He is, I think he's their community coordinator, and provided me with a bunch of WoW mount codes, which I just been giving out from time to time, giving him a shout out. So, okay, well, no calls coming in right now, so I think this is it for the show. I thank you for coming, and I send me your suggestions for future shows. If you have, let's see here, if you have something really interesting to talk about, let me know. Tell me in Skype. And who knows, maybe we'll lead off a show with you. And that's it. So thanks again, everybody. And for those of you watching live, join us tomorrow for another edition of killing, plundering, general mayhem in the War Z with the clan. It's going to be gory. And I'm sure I'm going to get myself in trouble again. Yeah, I'm sure of it. Take care, everybody.
My head is filled with empty thoughts. I'm lost in the midnight city. Been chasing dreams this place has brought. Looking for something to give me.